is, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people do. But 3 days on Riz, I mean, 1 day on Riz is like 3 years, right? It's a 1 day is 195 days, Earth time on Riz. And it's really broader than that when you get into the fifth dimension, because 1 day is like 1,000 years in the fifth dimension. Like I said, 1 day is like 1,000 years, so it's 1,095 days. And in the fourth dimension, 5 minutes is like 1 hour. 5 minutes is like 1 hour in the fourth dimension. And then when you go to the fifth dimension, 1 day can become 1,000 years. But it's also, it depends on how many suns you got, how far your planet is located from the sun, right? And that's part of it. So it's dealing with the distance of your sun, how fast your planet rotate, all it, right? But we had 3 suns in Riz, right? And that made us have 3 years for 1 day, which is 195 days when you do the math on it. And so every day at high noon, which would be like half of that, like 540 some days, we would turn into our light bodies. And that's when we was developing the technology to be able to ascend. And most of our technology on Riz was hologramic technology. But they don't, and they really teach you about Riz, but they don't teach you about the other 18 planets that we had in that solar system. We had 18 other planets with beings living on them, right? And these are also mostly hybrid races. These are mostly hybrid races that we had, because we keep in mind, we had made, being that we were one of the main families because of our technology, right? We had Riz Tech, and we ran by Raziel II, which is the son of Anu. Him and his wife was in charge of Riz Tech, and we were developing a lot of technology, a lot of light crystal ships, a lot of different type of ships we were developing, and we were selling this technology around the galaxy to certain people who we had made treaties with, right? So there were 18 different species, other species besides the Rizians, and the Danaco was one of them that we had mixed our seed with, and they made a subspecies from. So it's really 18 subspecies from Rizians, and like I said, the Danaco is one, and there were other species we had mixed with several different species, because Anu had 80 wives through making treaties, and we had a reptilian Rizian species, and some of them niggas is here, some of them was disagreeable. Some of the reptilian Anunnakis species that were mixed with Rizians, they like half Rizian, half reptilian. And Inky was one. Inky was one of those because his mother was reptilian, and Ariskagil. Ariskagil was reptilian, part reptilian, and part Anunnakis. So we had all these subspecies through the mixing of our seed based on the treaties. We made treaties with these people, especially. Some of these people worked with us and worked for us, and we told them, after you get through working, like the Ramadians, right? We originally created a species on Mars, right? That's why they got the name Mars, marker beings, right? The marker beings, they got Mars in their name, right? And we actually break down, if you go back and watch the Grays tapes, we got a couple of tapes out on the Grays, and we got the book of the Extraterrestrial. We broke down, Baba said that there was 70 species of Grays, right? Because the Grays were mixing with a lot of people too. The Grays were mixing. What do you say? Why would Alfred offend you? What do you say? True. Hey, yeah, I ain't offended, man. Very easy, because I already passed. If you can see my aura right now, it's green, it's purple. If you can see my aura. I vibrated past the sacred chakra. The sacred chakra, and I'll go back to talking about the subspecies, but somebody asked this question. The sacred chakra, which is, you got the root chakra, then you got the sacred chakra, which vibrated the orange. That chakra is the chakra that you got to get past being offended. Some people get offended from curse words because they pure beings, and pure, like me, I got like that purple gives me the violet, the warrior energy to be able to come here, because I couldn't come here as just a straight benevolent being. So I made it to the 720. I made it to the seven. Well, I'm making it to the 720. So I'm like a neutral being now. See, like I was born disagreeable and malevolent. That's why I was picked for this job, because this is a war we in. Our son here to fight and to say certain things, to talk certain ways, that because an agreeable all the way agreeable being wouldn't be able to say a lot of things that I say. If I was all the way agreeable, I wouldn't say a certain things. I'll just be agreeable with everything. A lot of benevolent beings get taken out, or they get like a lot of people that you might not believe this, but a lot of people that got hooked on crack cocaine were benevolent, right? Like a lot of people that got hooked on crack and drugs, certain types of drugs like heroin, they were benevolent because they were agreeable. Like if you agreeable and I say, hey man, come hit this crack with me, come hit this crack cocaine with me, and you agreeable, you're gonna agree to it. But if you malevolent, you're gonna say, man, you crazy. I ain't smoking no doggone crack. A lot of people who chose to join on with Halai and Tanush, a lot of the beings that decided to join on with Halai and Tanush were agreeable beings. He convinced most of them were agreeable. He couldn't convince the malevolent beings. He couldn't convince the malevolent beings because the malevolent beings said, man, hell no, I ain't going with you. They disagreed with him. The disagreeable beings disagreed with Halai. And so they didn't join on with him. But it's a lot of agreeable beings who agreed with him and they got trapped with him, and he tarnished them, right? So it's a lot of agreeable beings who end up in bad situations because they're agreeable. A lot of malevolence don't end up in the bad situation because they disagree, right? They disagreeable. And you know, we got disagreeable beings. It's elders that's with us that's disagreeable. They disagreeable and they gotta grow and become to that 720 and be a neutral being. Lean more to their benevolent side. Because as you make this shift to go from being benevolent to being neutral and benevolent, it's a lot of emotional, they're very emotional, and so they're very fragile. It's emotional is dealing with they sacred chakra, or they solar plex. The emotion is where you're dealing with the solar plex chakra. So they working on that particular part of their solar energy, they solar plex. The sacred chakra is where you get past being offended. Once you make it past the sacred chakra, don't much offend you no more. And I'm not really offended by nothing nobody's doing. I just follow orders from the because my leader, and he my guardian angel, which is why my middle name is Mikael. He my guardian angel. Yanun is my guardian angel. And Yanun, he probably say that he'll probably tell you otherwise and say that he worked for me, but I really work for him. So I guess we work for each other, right? But he'll probably tell you that if you ever talk to him, he'll probably tell you, man, nah, Sananda, I work for him. And because he humble. He mastered the ego, right? He mastered the ego. So he real humble. And so we humble beings, and we really try to lean more to the benevolent side. But we had to be warriors in order to come here. It's 7 masters is here. And those 7 masters are warriors because we had to come here and fight against certain reptilian energy and certain disagreeable beings. And it's not just reptilians, it's disagreeables in all races, and it's agreeable in all races. So it was different types. Like in the felines, it was certain feline beings who chose to go with Lucifer, right? And they chose to fight with Lucifer. It was certain conehead, some people at the conehead race who chose to go with Lucifer or Halai, right? Some people don't like the name Lucifer, saying, "Oh, that's still religious."